Today, I'm coaching my girlfriend's dad in karting so that he can be able to drive 70-mile-per-hour rental karts and hopefully he doesn't crash. These are some of the fastest rental go-karts you can drive on the planet, and you're really supposed to have quite a lot of experience before you're allowed to drive these, but Frank, you know, I've been coaching him, but I'm not quite sure he's ready. So this morning, we're gonna start at a much slower indoor electric track, and we're gonna try and bring Frank up to speed slowly but surely. I want to identify exactly what his bad habits are. I'm gonna show him on onboard, and I'm gonna teach him how to take notes properly. And then in the afternoon, he's gonna have his first two-stroke rental kart race. Okay, here we go. We've got the entire track to ourselves this morning, which should be perfect for getting Frank up to speed before he drives some of the fastest rental karts you can drive in the world. So hopefully these practice sessions get him up to speed quickly. The physics don't change no matter what vehicle you're driving. So if you can learn the same things at a slower speed without overloading your brain, then that's only a good thing. Oh, don't do that, Frank. So I've got Frank behind me just to kind of learn the line. So I'm gonna go slow here so you can keep up with me. This is honestly one of the best ways to learn a track quickly, is to just follow someone who's faster than you. And if they're way faster than you, then have them slow down a little bit on straight so that they can, that you can keep up with them. But hopefully Frank learns a thing or two just watching what I'm doing.
So with that in mind, I'm making sure to do the perfect racing lines, or at least as close as I can get in conditions this slippery. And hopefully some of it rubs off on him.
Oh, so much wheel spin when the track's this slippery. We're driving right now really early morning, which means that the track has no temperature in it from all the karts driving around. But typically the tracks kind of get faster in the evening, even if the air temperature is getting lower. So this is really as hard as it gets. God, you're just dancing on that throttle pedal when the conditions are this slippery. I mean, it really is like driving a 1,000 horsepower race car when you've got instant torque like this and no grip. Really steering with the accelerator through there. I'm not using the brake really at all. Just dancing with that throttle pedal and rotating. That's always what happens in that corner. If you watched my the last video I did here with Frank, that's where I was constantly having some trouble because the temperature just changes once you start, you know, locking rear brakes in that corner, and then it's like very patchy where the grip is. So I want to just keep showing Frank the line here for this next lap, and then I'm going to swap with him and see what he's doing wrong, because he might not be too bad when he's following me and he's got a reference, but that might change when we swap positions.
That's actually one of the things I see a lot with students, is that they completely forget the right habits once they're under pressure.
All right, now let's follow Frank. Let's see what he does on his own. Okay, definitely missed that apex a little bit there that he probably wouldn't have if he was following me. Yeah, missed an apex there. Okay, but not looking too bad so far. We'll give him a couple of seconds there to adjust. Now, Frank's tendency in the last video was to overcharge entries a little bit, which is pretty common for new drivers, which means he actually needs to dial down his entries a little bit and just focus on exits. So let's see if that's still his tendency. Yep, that's overcharging the entry a little bit, but let's see if he gets a good exit out of it. No, see he had that big snap of oversteer and it was taking him forever to get on power. Exactly, right there. Big snap of oversteer, no exit. Too much on entry. Okay, his exit wasn't too bad there, but he probably oversteered a little bit. I'm noticing he's being a little bit reactionary after the apex, and I think it's because his vision. Yeah, do you notice that? His head was looking towards the outside of the corner, even though he had already passed the apex. At that point, because that's a double apex corner, he should have already been looking at the next apex. So if you're driving retroactively and you're relying on your reaction time to correct mistakes, you're always going to be a slower driver because you essentially just have less brain capacity. This is one of those things. It's a good thing we're learning this in the slow karts right now, because when he gets in those two-stroke rentals that are going maybe 65, 70 miles an hour, you don't want to be making retroactive mistakes because you will not have the time to react to them. Well, see, there's the oversending. The thing is not that he's like braking way too late, it's just that he's not holding the brake for long enough. I think his tendency is to just stab the brake, release instantly, and then just send loads of speed to the apex. This is really, turn one's really the only one where oversending works, because you don't need to brake, you kind of just need to... Saved it. There as well, you can send a lot of speed in and then just use the scrubbing to shave off the speed. All right, I think I'm going to try and get a lap in, you know, just something half decent so we have a reference for how far Frank is off right now, and then we can try and dial in for the next session.
So far, honestly, Frank isn't looking half bad, and he's even managing to utilize the boost button on the straights. We can certainly work from here.
The other thing is when you're actually just pushing hard, you're just going to generate more tire temperature and you're just going to keep getting more invisible grip. You're just gaining magic. Oh. Oh gosh. That corner is like one of the hardest corners, like genuinely in the world, because of the grip just changing from line to line so much.
But at least I wasn't the only one.
Alright, let's slow down for Frank. We gained like half a lap on him in those couple of laps I was pushing. Woo. Oh, is that the end of the session? Oh, it is. How was that?
That was good. Better than last night, actually. It's not nowhere near as good.
Oh, it's not? Okay,
No.
good.
I mean, my fingers are fine.
Thanks.
Okay, Frank, so I noticed really one major issue that I think you need to work on now.
Oh dear.
It's not major, and it's something that you already do.
Right.
You just maybe aren't conscious of it in the kart. So we've been karting a couple of times, and do you remember the one thing that I always point out that is a bad habit of yours?
Maybe not looking ahead.
You did do a little bit of that, but
Yeah.
it's only in the double hairpin where you're having the most issues. You keep looking towards the exit on the left,
Yes,
and then at the last second you turn
Yeah.
right, and then you're kind of like
That's right.
trying.
Yeah, that's
so that's
right.
one thing, but I wouldn't say that's your worst issue actually right now.
I don't know actually. It felt like pretty perfect to me this morning.
So there's like little minor stuff like missing an apex or something.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Like you're not losing a ton of time. The major thing is just overcharging the entries.
Oh yes,
You
perhaps, yeah.
It's not that you're braking too late. It's that you're not holding the brake for long enough. You're
Yeah.
not scrubbing off enough speed with the steering.
Yeah.
So you're basically just like your minimum speed in the corner is like way after the apex, and then you're
Yeah.
just kind of scrambling with the oversteer to like,
Yes,
like I'm trying to
yes,
survive, trying to
yes.
hang on.
That's right, yeah.
Where you would have a much easier time if you actually just slowed down a bit on entry, maybe even overslowed, and just thought about how easy it is to just apply the power again.
Let's try to apply that learning on the next one.
Yes.
And see if we can improve things. But yeah, I'll try to slow down a little bit.
Because that's honestly like, it's going to be important for lap time here,
Yeah.
but in terms of just not dying in the carts are driving later,
yeah,
or you're
yeah,
driving
yeah.
later, you definitely need to get the hang of that.
Yeah,
So
okay.
let's work on that.
Right, let me try that. Thank you very much, Cameron.
All right. So Frank now has the advice, slow in, fast out. Let's see what he makes of it. This is going to be really important for him to learn in these slower karts now, because in the high horsepower Rotax karts, if you just mat the throttle down, or you're just trying to catch the kart in an oversteer and then trying to apply power, the thing is going to light up the tires like you would not believe. And you're going to get yourself into big trouble real fast. The beauty of these high torque, instant torque electric karts on slippery conditions means it's effectively like you're driving something with a lot more horsepower. So if he can get used to it here, I think he'll be okay in the faster karts. Let's see if he's getting used to that slow and fast out. Look, brake, looking towards his apex. Oh, so much better, so much better. Yes, that's what we want to see. Now there's obviously lots of little things Frank's doing, like, you know, you could carry more speed in certain corners, you could hit an apex or change a line a little bit differently, but it's pointless for me to tell him that if he has one fundamental mindset shift that he needs to make, because that's going to carry in every single corner, whereas if I just tell him little individual bits, he's not going to remember, and it's going to make a much smaller difference to his lap time. In fact, it might even make him slower because he's having to think about too many things at once. So it's better just to focus on one key point and let him figure it out for himself. I mean, this is already looking so much better. This is definitely the one corner he could probably actually not do the slow and fast out thing, but we're not going to tell him that for now. See, he is more composed. He's trying to do the slow and fast out thing, but there's a point where you do it too much and you're actually just missing out on minimum speed through the corner. And right now he might be actually slower than he was before, but I just want to drill that mindset shift into him as much as possible right now. And over time, he's going to get used to it and start carrying more speed. Like there, already. It's way better than last lap. He's definitely faster because it's not easy for me to overtake him now. Yeah, that's way better. Okay, I'm liking the look of it. Honestly, I might just sit here and watch the show. You know, driving an electric kart in really slippery conditions like this, to me, is way more realistic to car racing than kart racing, because you're not really worried about picking up that inside rear wheel like you would be in kind of high grip scenarios. Which is exactly, how you would drive a race car. You have suspension and a differential, so you actually want the rear tires planted pretty much at all times, except for maybe oval racing. Oval racing is its own thing. All right, let's let Frank back around and let's see if he's gotten back into old habits or not, trying to keep up with me.
Honestly, all I was expecting was maybe a 1% improvement in this session, but Franck has really impressed me so far.
See, I would be mad at that, him braking in a place he doesn't need to brake, except that I know he's really trying to put that slow in, fast out thing to good use. So this is actually what we want to see. So far so good. He's not getting back into old habits. Maybe there a little bit. It's okay. Ooh, there. See, he's actually not braking all the way up against the wall, which is probably where there's going to be more rubber and definitely more temperature, because that's where I'm braking. So that'll definitely be making his braking a lot harder through there. All right, you know, honestly, with his driving right now, I think we're in a really good place for him to be able to drive these super fast Rotax rentals later this afternoon. I'm feeling very, very good about it. Honestly, I wasn't earlier this morning, so this is a good step of progress. And by the way, if you're curious how Franck is able to do this well, considering he's really just started rental karting recently, he is actually one of the first students of the Karting Handbook, my online rental karting course, which has over 30 video lessons covering like a massive range of topics. I mean, it literally includes footage from loads of kart tracks I've been to around the world, and car racing tracks I've been to around the world. And it's all in an effort to help you guys become faster rental karting drivers. I went from rental karting to professional car racing, and I think this is the best and most affordable platform for training the next generation of drivers. So if you're interested, check out the link in the description and use discount code on screen. And checkered flag. Very curious to see if Franck really felt like he progressed there, because I certainly think he did.
Okay, so we're back for a little lunch break before we head to Sandown, where he's going to be driving much faster karts than these. But let's figure out what those bad habits are that he was doing in the slower karts that probably will rear their ugly head in the faster kart. Before we've looked at any onboard at all, the first thing I always want every driver to do that I'm coaching is to fill out a track notes template. So this is, you can download this for free in the description. But you want to just basically, based on your memory, while it's still fresh, try and fill out what you think is understeer and oversteer for each part of each corner, each phase of each corner, and then give as detailed notes as you want for your own memory. This is actually a track map that I filled out for Franck when he was first learning this track, just so you know, this is basically how I think about the track. So we've got that as a reference, but I want to see if what happens in this onboard matches with what Franck is writing down here.
It's actually useful analyzing every corner, every apex. So yeah, look forward to that. We should be able to draw some good conclusion really, because we've never done this really, but looking at the footing afterwards should actually help us nail out the 2 or 3 principles I need to correct.
1 hour later.
All right, we're at the new track. This is Sandown Park in Surrey, and Franck's about to hop into the D-Max 2-stroke Rotax-powered rental karts, and I'm honestly a little bit nervous for him. I mean, he did perform really well this morning in the team sport karts, the really, much slower electric karts on a slippery surface. This is going to be quite a bit more difficult, especially considering the track is actually damp. You can see there's actually a dry line forming there, but there's still a lot of damp patches basically off the racing line. And the thing is, like in this corner, for example, it's not even the full racing line that's dry. You really maybe only have your inside tires in the dry spot, and it's wet on the outside, so that's gonna be treacherous. And now he's going from, maybe the most he's driven is maybe 6 horsepower in a go-kart, and these are advertised at 22. And you have all that power up in the high RPM range, which is just classic Rotax 2-stroke. So I think he's gonna have the surprise of his life when he puts his throttle down for the first time.
Okay guys, visors down, can you press that button for me please? Press the button.
All right, it's finally time for Franck to drive his first ever 2-stroke go-kart, and immediately one of his competitors has spun. Now, the first challenge he's going to have to deal with is getting temperature in these tires. It is freezing outside, so it's going to be just as slippery as those indoor karts. Now, the keen-eyed among you will have already noticed that the track is damp as well. So the combination of a cold and damp track on slick tires is possibly the hardest combination for Franck to learn for his first time in a Rotax. I'm willing to bet only a handful of viewers on this channel have probably ever even experienced conditions like this, and you're probably all British if I had to guess. Most of Franck's experience has been in indoor karts where there's obviously no rain, so he's got a lot to learn before the race tonight.
Now, one of the things with mixed conditions like this where it's still a bit damp is you have to be able to find where the grip is, and it's not there. Franck is driving right there on the damp patch, which is the traditional racing line, but really, like everybody else, he needs to move over there where it's actually a lot drier. It's obviously not the ideal racing line, but you've got to drive where the grip is in conditions like this. Now, one of the other things I'm noticing he's doing is he's driving really close to the edge of the track. Like, look at that, all the way down, just on the edge, which is good for track usage, but I've seen a couple times where he's just dipped the wheel in that grass, and because it's so wet, it means that he's getting a little bit of water on the surface of the tire, and as soon as he hits the brakes into the next corner, he's locking up like crazy because the tires are actually wet. Oh, he's getting feisty out there, jeez.
God, this kart demands so much more from the driver. Very different to D40. I guess you need to have your talents and your skills fine-tuned really to get the most out of the kart. Really incredible difference.
I'm also noticing here in turn 2 that he's not really utilizing the full track width and the braking phase of the corner. He's kind of turning in from the middle of the track. And then when he doesn't do that and he utilizes the track, then he typically tries to trail a lot of brake into the corner. And I think that might be because he's just not confident to brake on the bumps there, but that's kind of just where you have to brake on this track. So picking up little bits and pieces here, but I want to watch Franck's onboard after this practice session so I can figure out what is the main issue he's dealing with. And then I'll tell him to focus just on that for the race. But the thing is, and I don't think Franck will like this, there's rain forecasted for about an hour from now, right around when the race starts, so fingers crossed for him that doesn't happen.
This thing is absolutely mental. Oh, there's so much sense, so much vibration. It's a really, really good kart, but God! You really need to master it all. Oh, I'm doing this wrong, am I?
While we did look at onboard to prepare for this, we only looked at dry onboard, and Franck's following that dry line to an absolute T. And the track just isn't ready for it yet.
Franck's done an amazing job going through the Karting Handbook course, which is my online rental karting coaching platform, and he's been taking great notes and everything, but he's still got a long way to go before he's ready to compete. Because the UK, when it comes to rental karting, they take it extremely seriously.
Oh, this D-mask keeps you on your toe. You really need to have and remember every lesson is just full on all the way through. Oh.
You're wondering what track we're at right now. This is Daytona Sandown in Surrey, UK. It's actually positioned kind of right next to a golf course and inside of a horse racing track. So it's a really unique location. It's one of my favorite outdoor rental kart tracks in the UK. The fact that you can drive two-stroke rentals, Rotax-powered rentals at that, is it's pretty nuts. The fact that they just let people drive these is still mind-boggling to me.
The accelerations are so rapid that you really have to actually work out your apexes and your turning points really well.
Alright, he might be making the odd mistake, but he would be making a lot more if he wasn't such a good student before coming here.
And by the way, just to show how good of a student Franck is, he's already got a track notes template printed and ready to go. So as soon as he gets out of the kart, he's immediately going to fill out this sheet, get his feedback on paper before, importantly, he's tainted by watching onboard or something. And then, you know, it's not really accurate if you're not writing these things down from memory.
Oh, God!
There's been an incident.
It's great to see Franck is getting confident with being wheel to wheel in these karts, because that is going to be super necessary in the race coming up.
Right, I need to calm down and work on my turning points. I'm not doing a good job.
Now that I'm in a bit better of a place to hear his throttle applications, I'm noticing there's a bit of hesitancy on his throttle. I'm hearing bon, 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 and then it's kind of like on the third one, he might kind of commit to it, but that's actually really bad for lap time. You want to just have one fell swoop back to power, so one brake application, maybe a tiny bit of coasting phase, and then you're back on power. And we do that because we don't want to upset the weight platform of the kart. I explain that in depth in the karting handbook. But definitely something to note when I talk to Franck in our debriefing.
This kart is so more powerful and agile. Really requires all your skills to be turned on, really. Oh, very different to a D40. That was full on, really. It's so different as a kart.
Well, that's the thing though, it's like, the thing is when you go faster, you're not necessarily changing the techniques you need to drive the kart. It just exaggerates your problems, right?
Exactly. All right, ready to go.
Last bit
Wish
of
me luck.
advice, drive fast, don't crash.
All right. Thank you, Cameron. All right, thank you. 127. Thank you.
Now is the moment of truth. Will Franck be able to put everything he's learned today into one monster lap in qualifying? Honestly, the odds are really stacked against him because the track temperature has reduced massively since losing the sunlight. The track is certainly drier, at least for now, but the temperature is really going to affect the grip levels more than anything. Already a spin for Franck. The track is a lot drier than it was earlier in the practice session, but the track temperatures come down a lot because obviously there's no sun left. So I think keeping temperature in those tires is going to be much easier said than done. Okay, so now's the moment of truth where we find out where Franck qualified. There's only 3 drivers on track, unfortunately, so I guess he's guaranteed a podium, but the question is, did he qualify last? Let's see. Oh, the other driver's being pushed back. Does this mean Franck's got a front row start his first time in a Rotax? Wait. And apparently both those other drivers have D-Max experience, so... Oh, he's P2. Nicely done, Franck. Nicely done. Or is he pole? Wait, no, surely not. Okay, here they come. It looks like Franck got mugged on the start. Let's see if he can keep it all together in turn 2. Come on, Franck, attack, attack. Oh, and he's already in the lead. I didn't even see where he overtook. But can he hold it? Oh, he's right on his tail. I can literally see Franck going defensive in the distance. He's not going to give this one up easily. Or maybe he's not defensive and he's completely oblivious he's even there. Come on. No mistakes, no mistakes. Oh, no, no, no. Up the inside. Come on. Oh, it pains me to say it, but he's actually gone, I think, a second slower than he did in practice earlier, which you could say, granted, could be related to track temperature. It's just gotten a lot colder, so maybe there just isn't as much grip. But the session before this was a SOTY session, which are considerably slower than these karts, and someone else did the more or less the exact same time Frank just did in the D-Max.
Oh,
How was that?
was
You
epic.
exhausted?
exhausted, yeah, that is exhausting because it's actually so full on.
I have good news and bad news.
Okay,
Good news
right.
is you're P2, so
Okay.
you're on the podium.
Excellent.
There were only 3 drivers,
Yes.
but the bad news is you actually went slower.
I went slower. That's what I thought. Yeah.
And you know, I was like, you know what? I'll give you the benefit of doubt. Maybe it's
Different
just
kart.
because different art, but maybe it's just track temperature, right? Because it's cooled down a lot
yeah,
now.
yeah.
But the SOTY session right before you, someone did almost the same time you did in the
Okay.
D-Max.
Wow, that's nice.
Goal number 1 was completed, which was not die. So
yeah, no, absolutely. No.
for karts this fast, that's actually easier said than done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you want to check out the karting handbook and improve along Frank, check it out. Link in the description, discount code, all that jazz.
Use it and abuse it.
Yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.